Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Today we are going to discuss question number 2 of our reading paper, that is paper 1, and that is reading paper. Question number 1 is comprehension task that we have already discussed. Comprehension task is all about the explicit and implicit ideas. In question number 1, that is comprehension task, you need to be clear about two things. You have to show understanding of explicit ideas, explicit meanings, and to show understanding of implicit ideas or implicit meanings. Explicit, clearly mentioned in the text; implicit, hidden, not clearly mentioned in the text. Now let's talk about question number 2. Question number 2 has 9 marks and it has 5 questions from A to E. When we talk about question number 2, for a moment I want you to think about your narrative task, narrative or descriptive writing. When you write that kind of an essay, sometimes you use such emotive vocabulary where you want to influence the reader. You want to use such words, you want to create drama and suspense in your narrative story. So to make it more interesting, you use that kind of language. So basically in question number 2 we are dealing with such use of language by the writer, where he is trying to use language was for creating some specific effect, or he wants to influence the reader, he wants to affect the reader. So look at let's have a look at the questions. Question number 1. Question number 1 is read this extract from the text. Now one extract is given here, that is the same text that we have previously discussed. He felt gravity go to zero. The world stopped. Mo watched the branch of the large redwood approach in slow motion and saw his fingers extend towards it. This is an extract from the text. Now, basically, what you have to do in this question, what does the writer want to suggest to us about the situation at this point in the story? And this question has, how many marks does it have? This question has 1 mark. So basically you have to comment on the situation in the story at this point. If gravity go to zero, if the world stops, if there is a kind of a situation where you don't know what is going to happen and you are in the middle of something and you are not aware of the result, or you don't know what is going to happen, here we have that kind of situation. So basically you have been given one sentence, you are not going to explain that, or you're not going to answer about any information regarding the text, rather you just have to make a remark, or you have to comment on this situation, that if the world stops for you, what kind of situation is that? So look at the answer now. It's a critical moment in the story. Basically you have to give your answer that if world stops for you, there is a situation where you cannot think, you just stop, everything stops. So what kind of situation is that, what kind of moment is that? So you have to just comment on that, you have to just pass your remarks about that. So here the candidate is writing, it's a critical moment in the story as the reader doesn't know if more. And now you have told that this is a critical moment. Now why you are justifying it, you are giving your reason why you think that that is a critical moment in the story. The reader doesn't know if Mo will reach the branch or not. So first he explained, or he talked about first two sentences, and then he talked about the last part of the extract where the things are in slow motion and the writer doesn't know what is going to happen next. So this question is basically talking about the situation while standing outside, thinking about that, and then giving your opinion. This is first thing. Second question is B, and usually this question asks you about, sometimes it can be a grammatical question, sometimes it can be a question that is related to vocabulary, but the question is going to be a kind of a comparison between two things. Recently, I think, when we were doing this thing in class, and there was a question, I think, in short assessment there was a question that, why did the writer use the word pause instead of stop, right? So there you need to explain the difference between pause and stop. Pause and stop, the difference, definitely I think most of you are clear about it, that when you pause something, you stop it for some time, for a while, and after that you just resume it, you start it again. Whereas when you stop something, you end it there. That's the difference between pause and stop. So here mostly, and then I can recall another question, that was why the writer used the word toil instead of walk. So you have to explain that why toil, why not walk. So B part or C, number doesn't matter, the number of the question can be different. Maybe the first question, the A can be C, or C can be A or B. So number of the questions can be different, but they are going to be the same type of questions. So B is that explain why writer uses the word stronger than strong. That is, now this is a kind of a question that has some part related to vocabulary, and at the same time it has some grammatical effect as well. So you all know that strong, stronger, strongest, these are adjectives, so it is related to that also. Why the writer uses the word stronger rather than strong in the expression a stronger branch? So answer is, it is still not strong, only stronger than the other one, so could break. So basically, the writer uses the word stronger because he is suggesting that this branch is stronger than the previous one. The branch that he already had, that was strong, but not as strong, as much strong as this one. So he is telling us that this branch is comparatively stronger than the previous one, but still not the strongest. It can also break. So, or it can also, we can also write it like, in this way, that this branch is also not the strongest, it is also weak, and it can also break. So you need to explain the difference of strong and stronger here in this sentence. And mostly you are going to have this kind of question there, where you have to compare two different words. It can be grammatical, or it can be related to vocabulary as well. Now C part, I think most asked question. What two impressions does the writer want to convey to the reader in the sentence? There was foliage everywhere, above, below, and on all sides, layer upon layer of leaves, like tents within tents. Now, the sentence, this is one sentence, okay? And you have to, maybe there you can find 3 impressions, 4 impressions, 5 impressions in one sentence. Maybe sometimes it's hard for you to find even 2, but you have to come up with 2 impressions when you are reading the sentence. After that, what do you think of that sentence? What is the writer trying to say? So for that, the first thing is that you must be clear about the words. Now there is a word, there was foliage everywhere. So if you are not clear about the word foliage, so it will be a bit hard for you to understand or to write about the impressions. But from the next, above, below, on all sides, layer upon layers of leaves, so that tells us that foliage means greenery of leaves. When it's green everywhere, especially when you have leaves on all sides, the word foliage is used for that. So you have to take out 2 impressions. That, so the easiest way is to do that, you need to divide the sentence in 2 parts, right? So that you can take out 1 impression from the first part and second impression from the next part. So there was foliage everywhere, above, below, and on all sides. We will take out one impression from these lines. Layer upon layers of leaves like tents within tents. So first impression is very clear that the writer is trying to tell that everything was surrounded by leaves, or wherever you see you will find leaves all around you. So the answer is the leaves completely surround him and there's no way out. So he was among the leaves and he has leaves on all sides. It is completely green, but you can see it's the answer is just about the leaves. There is no mention of anything else, so that is just one impression. The leaves completely surround him and there's no way out. It is completely green. That is just one impression that is related to foliage, that is related to leaves. We have to look for the second impression also and see marks for 2C 1 out of 2. So that's why the candidate got just one answer, 1 mark for just one impression, because he didn't write about the second impression. Now let's see what is the second impression that we can find here. Above, below, and on all sides, layer upon layers of leaves like tents within tents. So second impression, we can think that this is something that is very complex. The situation is very complex and the writer didn't find, or he couldn't find any space, any place to go out. The place where he was, it like tents within tents. That means there was no place to go outside. He had been traveling through, or he had been walking through leaves for a long time and couldn't get out. That means it was a very intricate passage, very complex passage, and there's one mention of his that there's no way out, but he didn't elaborate that. That could have been if he had written some more, a few more words here, he could have got one more mark here. So basically second impression is that things are very complex and he couldn't get out of them, and it is an intricate passage, or it is a maze like passage, you can also say that also. So that was question that is related to impression. Now read this sentence from the text, that is D, second last question. Read this sentence from, again there was A, that was also read this extract from the text, and now there is read this sentence from the text. Usually this question is related to this, usually this question is about one. Let's read it first. Climbing upwards slowly and steadily through the labyrinth, Mo lost sight of the ground. Lines 53 and 54. So climbing upwards slowly and steadily. Question is, what effect does the writer suggest about the tree by using the word labyrinth to describe it? So the first question was of the same kind, and but that was also an extract from the text, and this is also a sentence from the text. But this question A was about the whole situation, that what do you think, what is the situation here till this point, but this D part is just about one word, that why the writer is using that specific word. If you can just recall here, recently in one of your papers there was a question about squirming mass, I think. So you had to describe, I think that was also the same kind of question, that why the writer uses the word squirming mass. In the same way here, why the writer uses labyrinth. So, and this is 2 marks question, remember this is 2 mark question, so you have to describe it in such a way that you can get 2 marks, not just 1 mark. So what effect does that, so look at the answer, it is confusing. So when the writer is using the word labyrinth is a kind of an intricate passage, a maze where you have to find way but you cannot get out of it. M-A-Z-E, maze. So the writer is using the word labyrinth because it is confusing. It's like a maze up there. So Mo doesn't know which way to go. Now the first thing is it is confusing. He couldn't find his way, and second, he has used the word maze, that is the alternative for labyrinth. That's why he got 2 marks out of 2. Now you must have noticed one thing, that all the answers, all the responses that are written here, they are very precise and to the point. The candidate is not trying to uh, beat around the bush or write 4 5 lines for impressions or for explaining the extract or just commenting on the situation. He is very precise and he is to the point. So you also have to keep this in your mind, that when you are writing the answer, you need to be very clear about your answers, and you have to respond in a very clear manner. Now last question of the same part, question number 2. Identify one example from the text below of how the writer uses language effectively to convey Mo's feelings after Mo has lost sight of the ground. First, you need to understand that basically what kind of example you have to identify. Now first thing is identify. When the question starts with the word identify, that means you have to copy something from the text and paste it here in the in your answer space. Identify one example. When you choose one correct example, you will get your 1 mark. 1 mark is yours, and that is just for copying the text. That can be one word, that can be a phrase of 2 words, 3 words, 4 words, or that can be a short sentence also. Do not go for a longer sentence, because that would make it difficult for you to explain it. So I must say that your example must not be more than 5 words. Okay, if you are going for a phrase or you are going for a short sentence, must not be more than 5 words. So explain the impression the writer creates an example you have identified. Now this is one whole text here, and the student has taken out, the candidate has taken out this example: lace work of branches glowed. So lace work of branches glowed, this is example, you get your 1 mark for that. Now after that, this is the explanation. I guess if you read this, you'll be clear about this, that how to write, because usually most of the students, when they explain this example, they just keep on writing. Sometimes they write 6 lines, sometimes they write 5 lines, sometimes they write even they write 5 to 10 lines just for this explanation. That is not required at all. Here you just have to take out one, you just have to identify one example, write it there, like lace work of branches glowed, and then explain that sentence. Now look at this, this is the explanation, that is just 2 lines. Yes, this gives the impression of delicate fragile twigs and branches at the top, letting bright sunlight through the gaps. The branches make beautiful patterns. That's it. That is the explanation. There's no need to write stories in this explanation. Just write the explanation that is to the point and that is precise. And that is the heart of this kind of task. If you just go for writing whatever you think of, then you might not get even 1 mark for that. So precision is the key here. You have to be precise and you have to be accurate. That is the thing while doing your comprehension task, and especially question number 2. We will inshallah discuss one more comprehension task and use of language task, so that you are very clear about it. But for today, that's all. Allah Hafiz.